Welcome to Tactical Pontoon. I'm going to do a quick video here just because of things I've seen online about the micro dagger. Okay, issues with dead triggers and whatnot. And look at that beautiful patch. Isn't that beautiful? On the website, there's a couple of them left. But back to what we were talking about with the micro dagger. I keep seeing things from a few people about dead triggers and whatnot, and it seems to be, if anything, that there is a little bit less tension than there should be on the connector, which is allowing the trigger bar to pass by the connector and basically just become a dead trigger, because the angle on the connector is what actually drives that trigger bar down, which lowers the cruciform, which then allows the striker to go forward. So what is that, and why is that something on the micro dagger that you really don't see on the regular dagger? Okay, for starters, what we have here, I'm gonna zoom in so we get just a, there we go. Okay, we're gonna look at it up close. There we go. Okay, this is the trigger block housing from a, this is actually a Glock one, but basically for a dagger, it's the same thing. And what you see here, let me get my little pointer out. What you see here is the connector, and the trigger bar rides on this lip of the connector to, as you can see, it's got an angle and it drops down, which allows the cruciform to go down. If the trigger bar passes by this, which it can if there's not enough tension, you see how this, you see, let's see if I can get the angle right here. You can see that there is a gap between the connector and the trigger block housing. Okay, this connector is actually a spring. It has spring tension that pushes away from the housing towards the frame of the gun and pushes towards this trigger bar. You can see this one's got some extra spice on it. This is a Glock. This is a Glock trigger bar, not a Dagger trigger bar, but for our information, it's basically the same thing. So it pushes against the trigger bar to make sure that the trigger bar follows the geometry of the connector and drops the cruciform. Now, if there's not enough pressure on this connector, the trigger bar will pass by the connector and not drop the cruciform, not fire, have a dead trigger. The thing about the slimline micro dagger G43, G43X connectors is they are very thin. They're a very thin design, so they actually need quite a bit of tension, force away from the trigger block housing in order to keep the trigger bar in place. Okay, this is what would be basically a Dagger Glock 19 factory connector, and it is wider. It's got a bit more material that it's made up of than this is a full size or a double stack 9mm connector. It is a thicker material, so you're going to see less chance of the trick. Oh, this thing is magnetic. Okay. Less chance of the trigger bar passing by this because it holds its tension better than the thinner micro or slimline connectors. Okay, that's why you're seeing more this being more of an issue in the micro dagger than you would a full size dagger. I dealt with this a lot when I first started building triggers, and just through putting these connectors in the housings and whatnot and doing my modifications, excuse me, sometimes I would, by inserting and removing and polishing and stuff, I would not get the right amount of tension in on the connector, and so when the trigger would go out, the customer would immediately have issues with the trigger being dead or not resetting because there was not enough tension on this connector. It was something I learned in the hard way, and perhaps this is just me speculating. I don't know anything about the process, but just some of these connectors just are leaving the factory with a little bit less tension than they should. And after maybe a few rounds, things get a little bit warm or whatnot. It's just not retaining the tension that it should past the bar. My suggestion, if you have a micro dagger and you run into this issue, I'm going to zoom back out. We'll go back to full screen here. Check this tension. It's a relatively easy thing to do, especially with the upgraded and updated micro design where you don't have roll pins, you have standard solid pins. It's easy to remove those pins. Pull your slide off, obviously. Take the gun down just like you normally would. You can pull your pins out. The trigger system comes out very easy. And just add a little tension. Add some lubricant to that connector and everything, and that trigger bar when it goes back in, and you should be good to go. All right, so that is my take on the micro dagger dead trigger issue. It's not really an issue. See it when we think about the amount of micro daggers that are out there, it's just a few of them here and there. I don't see it as an issue. It's just something that maybe yours is affected by. And instead of having to wait for warranty service, it's something you can fix yourself. Very simple, very easy. Beautiful thing about a Glock is they are very simple to work on. And if you have any questions, if you need any help, Tactical Pontoon is here to help you. If you're looking to upgrade away from that hinge trigger, my triggers are pretty spicy. 24 Cajun herbs and spices goes in each one. You can taste the difference. All right, that's my little take on this. I will catch you next time on Tactical Pontoon.